Today we're going to talk about laryngoscope blades and handles and what Bell Medical has to offer and how best to promote those and present them to your customers. We're going to start a little bit with the history of laryngoscopes. You might know that there's a laryngoscope blade, the most common one's called a Macintosh or a Miller. Those are named after physicians in the 1800s that designed a metal blade to be able to either lift the epiglottis or lift the tongue to expose the vocal cords and thus be able to pass an endotracheal tube through the vocal cords to be able to ventilate a patient. So that's why we call them Macintosh and Miller. Miller is a straight blade and Macintosh is a curved blade. So this would be a Miller blade, and this would be a curved blade or a Macintosh blade. Okay, so that kind of gives you a little bit of a brief history of laryngoscopes. Laryngoscopes first came out, and they were all conventional. And what conventional means is that they had a contact. So there was batteries in the handle with an electrical contact that connected to a blade, and then the blade had a light on the end of the blade, and that's what conventional laryngoscopes were. And the majority for 30, 40 years were conventional. So conventional still means that you have an electrical contact in the handle, and then you have the light source on the blade. Now, the original laryngoscopes, conventional ones, had a regular incandescent bulb on the end of the blade, and that provided a reasonable amount of light, but then they came out with halogen bulbs, and halogen bulbs were significantly brighter, but they were significantly more expensive, like they were $20 a bulb. So what ended up happening is, in the industry, we went from conventionals to fiber optic. Now, what fiber optic means is that fiber optic means that the light source is actually in the handle. So you still have a handle with the batteries, but instead of the expensive halogen light being put on the end of the blade, they put the expensive halogen light into the handle, and then the blade would have what's called a fiber optic bundle. So there's this is a reusable blade, and it has a fiber optic bundle that runs, and a fiber optic bundle means basically there's a glass portion. So what actually happens, this is a reusable blade and handle, the light source is in the handle, and it travels a light tube that passes the light outside of the blade. So once again, the light source is in the handle. So fiber optic means light source in the handle, and the light travels a fiber optic bundle and exposes the vocal cords. Now, the industry went to all fiber optic, basically. There's still places that are using some conventional, but they went to all fiber optic because they could put that expensive halogen bulb in one handle and use multiple blades and spread the cost of that bulb there. So what has happened now, the new technology, is that we came out with LED lights. LED lights are really not light bulbs at all. They're actually chips. And an LED chip basically, in fact, actually this one is actually a chip. So if I took the bulb out, which I will, once again, it's not a bulb, it's actually a chip. So originally we had fiber optic handles would have a halogen bulb in it. Now the industry has gone to LED light sources in their handles, and they're still using fiber optic blades. So that's kind of the history of conventional versus fiber optic. And now the industry is going to very fast pace to disposable laryngoscopes. So in disposable laryngoscopes, that's a whole different thing. So we're going to talk about that in a second, but first of all, I'm going to talk about what you might see in reusable. There's some areas of the country where Hina, which is a German company, makes a very high quality blade and handle. Very expensive. A handle could cost $280. A blade can cost $225. Even in discounting, they'd be at $198 or something like that for a blade. We do sell a great reusable high-end system. So if a customer's using Hina, we have Proper as the high-end alternative. Hina is a German company. Proper actually makes their blades in Germany, but their handles are made in the U.S. and they're modeled off the same. So they're literally a copy. They used to be one company. They split off. So a Proper blade will compete very well with a Hina blade, and a Proper handle will compete very well with a Hina reusable blade. Some customers are using Hina rechargeable handles, and the reason they went to that is because they wanted an even brighter light source. The brighter the light, the better the system back then, and reusable handles are extremely expensive, like $380. And they use rechargeable batteries, and the reason they went to those is because they were able to take a halogen bulb that with regular batteries produced 2.5 volts. When they went to rechargeable batteries, they could produce 3.5 volts. And 3.5 volts on a halogen bulb made that bulb really bright. So you have customers, and there are pockets in the country that are really strong with Hina, like the Chicago area is really strong with Hina, and gives you an opportunity to present our high-end blade and handle, but also we have an alternative to even that. So the key question is what is the customer using now, and if they're using Hina, either Hina reusable, fiber optic, either rechargeable handles, we have a great alternative for them. One of the things that's unique about Hina and Proper handles is they have what's called an inner sleeve. So I can unscrew this power source, and that kind of shows the chip on the end of it. That I can show you. And then what some customers do is they sterilize this sleeve. So Hina and Proper have a pretty good handle design for the current requirement of sterilizing your handles. One of the minor negatives of it is that you still have the end of the handle that some people say, well, if you didn't sterilize that, you haven't sterilized the handle. So it can be an issue. But for those that are sterilizing their handles by just keeping these in the department and sending these, we have a great alternative in the Proper system. So that's Proper versus Hina, and that's fiber optic. And I'll mention the German profile. Hina is made in Germany, and like I said, Proper is also. A German profile means that the fiber optic bundle is actually integrated into the blade. So you don't see any, you don't see a light tube. Some of the systems, no, that's not one. Well, there are some fiber optic systems that actually you see the light tube traveling along, and actually with our disposables you see the light tube. And there are reusable systems that are like that. But generally the German profile means that the blade, the handle, the fiber optic bundle is integrated within the handle. And what that does is it makes it super easy to clean this. So after you've used it, you can just rinse it out. There's no nooks or crannies that can collect tissue or anything. Same thing with the Miller blade. It has kind of a light bundle that's going along here, but it's integrated with the blade, so it's actually part of the blade. Thus, there's no having to clean behind the fiber optic bundle. That's once again called German profile. So we sell, if you looked on page, let's say page 33 of our catalog, I'll just show it here if you don't have it. On page 33 up at the top it shows Bell Medical integrated fiber optic, and we sell them for as low as $58. They look just like the Proper. I'm sure the fiber optic bundle on the Proper is a little bit better on the Hina, but for all intents and purposes, if they're using reusable, the Bell Medical German profile for $58 is a great value. They ought to at least try it if the customer is currently using Hina, for example. Then if you go to page 35, you'll see it says Proper/Hina fiber optic laryngoscope. So this is technically our Proper product, and it's at $143 a blade. Once again, if you're buying Hina from Hina or a distributor for Hina, you're paying probably $190 for a blade, maybe $200+ for a blade, and even more for a handle. So we have a great option. We have great low-cost options and high-quality options in the reusable market. So that's reusable. Now we're going to go to the real market opportunity, which is disposable blades and disposable handles. That's the significant market opportunity that we have in front of us. Every one of your customers is considering this. They've already gone to it, or they're in the process of going to it. And if they've already gone to it, we still have a great story for them. If they're thinking about going to it, we have a great opportunity for you. So in the disposable market, you have multiple companies, and even within Bell Medical, we have a couple different options for you to choose from. The one we're going to lead with is located at the center section of your catalog. So it is our Carnegie product. So it's page 37 and 38. So I'm going to introduce that to you basically. But if you look at page 37, it starts off with our combination system. The combination means that this is technically a conventional system because the handle has an electrical contact point, and the bulb is actually on the end of the blade. It's an LED bulb, so it's super bright. In fact, this is our brightest solution for a customer, and it's our least expensive solution to a customer if they're looking at combination, if they're throwing away the blade and the handle routinely. They come pre-connected, they're color-coded, they come pre-packaged, so you'll actually see, like, this happens to be a Miller blade, so they're packaged in material that allows you to turn them on, test them, and then close them, and then if you need to use it, you just open it up. So in our case, they're packaged clean, they're not sterile. Laryngoscopes, because they're similar to knives and forks and spoons that go in your mouth, they don't have to be sterilized or sterile, but once in reusable, now that's the direction to do it. But these are packaged clean. So once again, they'll test it, and then they'll use it later. This happens to be a reusable a combo Miller, and now this is the combo Macintosh. Once again, I can test it in the package. This is actually brown for those that can't see it, and this Miller is blue, so it's color-coded. Once again, they technically are conventional. Our combos are actually pre-connected, so it really doesn't matter. I can use this in conjunction with a fiber optic system because when I pull this out, it's pre-connected. I can't even take it apart. So it's kind of a fail-safe. So if your customer is wants disposable and they're going to throw away the blade and handle routinely, our combination system from Carnegie is our best and highest quality solution. Often hospitals will transition to using disposable laryngoscopes. So one of your first questions when you go into a call, as you're paging through our catalog and you get to laryngoscopes, you would ask them, are you using disposable or reusable laryngoscopes? And they might say we're using reusable. And then you would ask, are you considering disposable, like maybe for ancillary areas? And they probably are. I don't know of many hospitals that are continuing to use reusable routinely, so I do believe most of them will be in some stage of moving to disposable. But when I say stages, sometimes they'll start with disposable laryngoscope blades. They'll say, we're happy with our handle, we're going to keep using that, but we're going to go with disposable laryngoscope blades. The opposite could happen. Rachel held our sales rep at Renown Hospital in Reno, Nevada. Their customer first went to their problem they perceived was with their handles because Joint Commission came out and said you have to sterilize your handles. Now what everybody's doing with handles right now that are using reusable handles, almost everyone is just wiping them off. They're using them and then they're wiping them off with like some kind of a antiseptic cloth, or and that allows them to work reliably. As soon as they're asked to send them to central supply to be sterilized, that means somebody's got to take it apart, and they might take this part apart, and then they might unscrew it and take the batteries out. Then they put it together wrong. Whenever they send them down to central supply handles, they come back and they don't work reliably. So once again, in Renown's case in Reno, they viewed their handles as a problem because they found that it was relatively easy to continue sterilizing the blades without any real issue. So they went to disposable handles, and they picked the Hina, they picked the Carnegie from Bell Medical. This is the Carnegie from Bell Medical. It's an aluminum handle with an LED light source, and we use two small watch batteries that generate 3.5 volts. So we get a brighter light than almost any reusable handle because our batteries are set up to give 3.5 volts. So the light source on this LED is extremely bright. Now in Carnegie, it's available in multiple sizes. This is the pen light, this is the standard, this is pen light, and then there's also a stubby. The stubby handle is a little more expensive than the other two, but basically they're all about the same. It's what the customer really needs. The pen light is generally used for pediatrics or infants. It's a smaller handle. Sometimes the females like it better, but it's generally wanted or desired when they're doing like a Miller 0 or a 00 for an infant, for example. So hospitals will turn to the disposable handle. But let's say you contacted a hospital and they use reusable handles and they're currently wiping those handles off. So that means they're using this handle and they're just wiping it off after they use it. They are not meeting, if they got inspected by Joint Commission, they could get a ding and they could fail because of that, because they're not sterilizing them. But our job is not to tell them how to do that or what to do, but if they are just wiping them off, there's no reason they cannot wipe off this disposable handle. This is a metal handle. It's aluminum. It's an aluminum top. The only part that's plastic is the foot here, or the bottom plate, so they could wipe this off. It's only $8. At quantity, we just got this down to $7.20 and possibly even lower as we go. So the disposable handle business is something we want to try to get, even if they're using reusable handles. So if you ask a customer, are you using reusable handles and blades, and they say, we're using disposable blades, but we're reusing handles, ask immediately, how are you cleaning those handles? Oh, we're just wiping them down. Well, if you're just wiping them down, then you could just wipe this metal disposable handle down. And what it does is it gets you into the hospital, it gets them using our handle, and eventually they'll say, oh, we can't really dispose of this anymore. We need to start buying it and throwing it away. So, like I said, all hospitals are in different stages of deciding to go to disposables right now. If the hospital says we're going to go completely disposable, you would still need to know, you would then tell them that our best solution is this pre-connected system because it's our most economical price-wise. But a lot of times, once again, they don't want to do that initially. They'll start off with a disposable blade, for example, with a reusable handle. Or they'll start off with the opposite of that. So often we have to go through that process with them. For example, Renown in Reno was buying handles and throwing the handles away and sterilizing their blades. Well, now, but even after that, they wanted to go to their crash carts and their ancillary areas, and they decided to go with our combo system because it's simple, color-coded, and it works well for crash carts, etc. So now, this is 6 months later, maybe a little bit longer, that they've been using our disposable handle. They've made the decision to use disposable blades also. Now, during that transition, we may sell them the Carnegie disposable blades, and then they may use fiberoptic handles and the fiberoptic blades. But eventually, we'll probably suggest to them to consider, once again, if they're throwing away both after each one, the most economical way to get it is combined. So that's kind of the environment we're in with regards to disposable blades and handles. Our lead with product is the Bell Medical Carnegie system with the aluminum handle. It's lightweight. It can be wiped off if they want to do that for the time being, and the blades are designed really well. Speaking of the blades, let's see if I got a blade here handy. Well, we'll just use this conventional blade. The advantage of the, we actually just look in the picture. I think you can see it on the catalog. Well, on the catalog picture, I'll show you something. The advantages of our blade is we use a fiber optic bundle, and we use a plastic block or a plastic footing, but that has a metal plate that goes all the way through it. That metal plate gives this blade a true metal feel or metal experience for the user. So you could lift up a very large patient and be able to expose the airway. So even though we have a plastic footing, it's metal reinforced. And believe me, there's a lot of disposable blades out there that are not metal reinforced. Our blade is also machine finished. Machine finished means it's finished to a degree that doesn't need to be coated with paint, for example, or any sharp edges, for example. And it has a true design like a reusable laryngoscope. So Carnegie from Bell Medical is basically a disposable laryngoscope blade that is modeled and designed just like a reusable system. So it's the highest quality, and it's the most similar to a reusable blade. Now, that being said, that's our lead width, is the Carnegie system, but there are going to be situations, and one of the questions you're going to want to ask your customer is what's most important to them about disposable laryngoscopes. And they could say the doctors want something that matches a reusable blade. They may say cost is the most important thing. They may, who knows what other issues they might say, but cost is usually one of the things that comes in. And so what we've done, and it's not in our catalog, but we have a secondary source for disposable systems, and that's from a company called Trinity. Trinity allows us to sell the laryngoscopes at 30 and 40% less than Carnegie even. So for example, a Carnegie handle, which is this aluminum, is available. List price is $8. We discount it down to $7.20, and in big volume accounts we could probably go lower than that. And I'll open this one up. This is from Trinity, and it looks the same, except it's actually a how should I say it? It's a plastic handle. Once again, if they're truly just using it for a moment, and it's got a very bright light also. This part is plastic, the top is aluminum. So this we can sell as low as $5. I think our list price is $6.20. So basically we're able to sell this Trinity roughly at the same price that we buy the Carnegie. Once again, we could mix and match these. So maybe the customer wants a true laryngoscope blade to be exactly modeled off of a reusable. Well, that would be the Carnegie blade, but you could mix it with a less expensive Trinity handle. Now, they all say Bell Medical in our quotes, but that's actually what we're doing. So once again, these are the two handles. Even from there, they probably look alike. This is the gray plastic standard handle, and this is an aluminum from Carnegie. So this is Trinity, this is Carnegie. They both have extremely bright lights. They're both fiber optic. You know, they both do a great job. Once again, if they're recycling, that's a whole other subject we're going to talk about briefly, but the aluminum is also an advantage in recycling because they could literally dispose these with their soda cans and their beer cans in their current recycling effort. We are, speaking of recycling, we are developing and should have it out sometime this week, a recycle program where if the customer does a significant volume, we'll provide them recycle bins at no charge. If they're new to it, there might be a charge for the recycle bins of as much as $125 for 2 bins, and they'll include the shipping labels, etc., for them to ship the product back. We're in the process of trying to figure out exactly whether what would, in my opinion, be better than recycling is reusing in poorer countries. So what we're looking at doing, and we've already contacted a company out of the, not a company, a mission for the Philippines that's interested in taking all of our recyclable product, and they will wash and clean them and send them to the Philippines. So rather than melting down plastic and getting some value out of it, or melting down the aluminum handle and getting some value for it, being able to reuse it in a third world country, I think, has some appeal, and then they can recycle it. So we have this light source, Carnegie light source, being used at Barnes Hospital, and they reuse it, and they've been doing that for almost a year now, and I'm going to say they get sometimes 3 months out of one handle before they dispose of it. Okay, so let me look at my list to see if I've covered the issues. We've talked about laryngoscopes, the history. The Mac blade is a curved blade. The Miller blade is a straight blade. There are other unusual blade names such as Reusable and Phillips. We can also get those in disposables, which is exciting. So we can be a total solution, a one-stop shop for a hospital if they decide they need disposable Reusable and Phillips blades, along with the Millers and Macs. We've talked about conventional laryngoscope handles, for example, have an electrical contact, and the blade is actually on the end of the bulb is actually on the end of the blade. We've talked about fiber optic, where the light source is in the handle and the light travels a fiber optic bundle. We've talked about reusable blades such as Hina, and that we compete with them with Proper, but we also have a Bell Medical low-cost German profile. And the German profile laryngoscope of a reusable device means that the blade, the fiber optic bundle, is integrated with the handle, so it makes it easier to clean. We've talked about Carnegie and Trinity as our two main options. I'm going to introduce Flexicare because we are actually a Flexicare distributor, but we don't get great pricing from them, and Trianum is also a Flexicare distributor. So I view this as a competitor. We often earn this business and keep this business for a while, and then somehow Trianum will pick it up. But basically how I would sell against this is a plastic handle, and it does have a nice light source. I don't believe it's as bright as ours, but it does have a nice LED light source. However, to take the batteries out of this, to take the batteries out of our aluminum thing, you basically unscrew it and you can dispose of the batteries properly. To take the batteries out of this system, you literally have to crack it and break it open, and the risk of cutting yourself or doing some kind of damage is relatively significant. So I don't believe this handle is as easily recyclable. They have a recycle program also, and when they sell a combo, everything they do is fiber optic. So once again, this is a fiber optic because it has the light source in the handle, and this is a fiber optic blade because it has the light source in black is traveling along the blade. So when I connect these, there's the light source. Light is coming from the handle, coming out the tube. But these, when they're packaged in their combo, are just packaged together. They're not connected. So they can test it by pressing their finger through the package like this, and that suffices to be able to test it. But it's a little bit nicer, in my opinion. Our combo is all pre-connected, pre-packaged, and you can test it like that without fully testing it, having it engaged. Once again, having to connect it is not a big deal. And that's something I should mention to you. You should all get comfortable with putting those on, and the best way to put them on is basically to attach the lip and push with your thumb. That connects it, and then lift it up. So if you get used to taking it on and taking it off, you don't want to be awkward in front of a customer like you've never put one of these on. So take these on and off a couple times, get yourself comfortable with it, and that will help you. Okay? So Flexicare is sold by Trianum, and Bell Medical has access to it. But the things that I think we have an advantage over this blade is all metal, which is an advantage on their part, but ours is basically the equivalent of all metal, because with our plastic foot here, our block, we have that metal rod running through it for both the Trinity and the Carnegie. Theirs is all metal, but it's not finished to the quality of ours, and as a result, they coat it with a kind of a gray paint or almost a lacquer that makes it somewhat slick and slippery, and that allows the tongue to slip off of it. That's especially a concern for Miller blades on infants. I had a pediatric anesthesiologist tell me that he did not like the Flexicare for infants because the Miller blade, and they almost always use Millers for infants and pediatrics, has a big arch and it's almost too slippery, and he said the tongue literally slips off like you were trying to pick up spaghetti. It just falls off, and that is problematic. So, but in general, the shape of their blades is probably fairly true to a reusable laryngoscope, and they are the market leader. So if the customer's using a blue handle, they're probably using Flexicare. Can we sell against them? Yes. We have a handle that I think is easier to recycle because you can take the batteries out of it easier, and you don't have to break it. Our light source, I believe, is brighter because we're 3.5 volts. I'm not exactly sure what this is. And when it comes to the blades, our blades are a metal finish. They have a glass fiber optic bundle. They have the metal support there through the block, and thus give you a true metal feel. So I do believe we can compete very well. We know the pricing for this. They sell this for about the blades for around $4.25. We can get I think it's, yeah, $4.25. We can get below that with our product, and I forget what their handles are, but we can compete from a price standpoint. If they're using this, we would probably, we want to show them both the Carnegie, because that's what I have samples for, but we would also want to have the pricing for the Trinity if price is their big issue. So that's kind of a summary. Once again, what questions should you ask as you're making a call? Well, the biggest thing you should do is you should page through the catalog. And once you get to the section on laryngoscopes, you would stop and ask, are you using disposable or reusable laryngoscopes? And no matter what, if they say they're using reusable, you would basically ask them, are you considering disposable? And they are all considering disposable. So you would then ask, are you using disposable blades and disposable handles, or is any portion of that reusable? A lot of times you'll hear them say, we're using reusable handles with a disposable blade. And if that's the case, you have to ask them, how are you cleaning the handle? Are you just wiping it off? And they'll say, yes, we're just wiping it off. If they're just wiping it off, then that's when you would introduce our aluminum Carnegie and say, you could wipe this off, and it's only $8. As you page through this, we start off with conventional reusables with LED light sources. So what they've done now is with conventionals, they've put the LED light source out on the blade on conventional, because that's where the light source is always. But now that it's an LED, the light is super bright. So conventional, we may see things go from, was it conventional, then went to fiber optic, it may all go back to conventional again, all because of the amazing LED light source. It's just super bright. So the disadvantage of the conventional was that we were using an old style bulb or a too expensive halogen. Now LED light sources are very inexpensive, and we can put those on at the end of a conventional blade. And we have all kinds of different sizes and different shapes that we use. We have reusable handles that are only like $25 to $23. Those, once again, are conventional. Then you get to the part that's about our fiber optics and talks about our different fiber optic blades. And then you get to fiber optic proper. You get a page that shows you the Flexicurity. And that's a good place to say, you know, if they're using disposable, say, are you using some with a blue handle? You point to this and says, oh, okay, yeah. Well, we can also sell that to you, but we find more people like our systems over here. I think the last page talks about there is a conventional alternative that's in separate handles and blades from Carnegie. We're not really promoting that right now. And then we have unusual blades like MRI blades. Those are reusable. We're working on an MRI disposable, so we're working on coming out with that. So you would ask, are you using disposable or reusable? Verify how they're cleaning their handle. Are they wiping it off? Are they sterilizing it? And then ask them, what is the most important aspect of disposable laryngoscopes for your facility? And see what they say. They may say price is our main concern. They may say duplication of a reusable blade. They may want to do an evaluation. We're excited for any of that. The opportunity here is significant because they're using laryngoscopes all throughout a hospital. It represents a significant volume, and we have the best system with the Carnegie. We have the best handle because it's aluminum. You can take the batteries out. It's got a 3.5 volt light source. We have the best blade because it's machine finished. It is a glass fiber optic bundle. It has metal reinforcement in the plastic block or plastic footing. And it has a very true to reusable shape. So it looks and is designed like a reusable blade. So Carnegie is #1 in quality and hopefully #1 in value. If someone's focused just on price, then we have an alternative that I would say is a notch or two below the design of a reusable blade with our Trinity system, but the handle is plastic and easy to recycle or throw away, and once again, a lower cost item. Okay.